Hello and welcome to AZAAZ. That's Ask Zenatta Anything About Zoho. This is Volume 1, Issue number 22, and this is the show where you ask the questions about Zoho and we answer them, and we've got an all-star team for you. I'm Brett Martin from Zenatta Consulting, and with me is Greg Belknap, Tyler Cole, and Landon McCluskey. And with that, guys, we've got a lot of questions today, so let's get right to it.
All right, our first question comes from a comment on YouTube video, Zoho Analytics Dashboard Publishing and Share Settings. A viewer asks, if we want to use Zoho Analytics data only for Zoho 1 users and not third parties, how would we share it if we don't want to allow making views public? And this is referencing a part of Tyler's video where he was going over different sharing settings. And I actually have a screen share to kind of review this part of the process. So here, when you're sharing a view in Zoho Analytics, you have this access permission, and you can select how you want this thing shared. What sort of, if you have like just a basic link, who can see the views from that link? And down here, might be able to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. That you can have it be accessed only by people who are logged into Zoho Analytics, people who are not logged into Zoho Analytics, or if you're planning on sharing it externally, you can have it available to everyone in your Zoho Analytics organization or everyone in your Zoho organization, which would be like your Zoho 1, or just entirely public on the web. So as Tyler was demonstrating in his video, you can often share, usually a lot of times you'll want to share to perhaps everyone in your Zoho organization, because maybe you have a chart that you want going to your sales team to be able to view, but they don't need to have access to the full analytics app because there's just tons of stuff in there. So you can share it that way. Now, their question was a little bit bigger, where they were asking about like if I wanted to share to specific users. If you wanted to share a view with only specific Zoho 1 users, then when you come to the share button, you have this share this view rather than make this view public. And here you can select just certain emails and users in your organization or inside of your CRM to share it just with those individuals. So, yeah, a couple of different spots for sharing, and yeah, hopefully this is the ones you were looking for.
Alrighty, next question here comes from Penelope Wood. This was asked over on Club Zenatta, I think kind of referencing a video we made on YouTube about Zoho Desk and the knowledge base. So the question reads, do you know if there is a way to have some of the knowledge base articles directly on a WordPress site? So one of those questions, not really. You can take the full knowledge base and create it as like a subdomain, right? Like a support.zenatta.com, and that will surely contain all the articles. You can also, I was doing a little double checking, you can export an article as a PDF from knowledge base, and then you could use that to embed on the website, but it wouldn't be like a sync. So if you change something in that article in Desk, you need to re-embed it because it's just a PDF that comes out. So yeah, unfortunately, no way to directly embed them. Really, the best option would be just getting the knowledge base on the site. And then, from there, you could always point to it, right? You could reference it in other articles that you're writing and posting natively to the website. But yeah, I was kind of expecting there would be a little like iframe embed widget for a specific article. I was like, I don't know if we can do this, but I thought, it would be there. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to embed just one particular article.
But Tyler, it's a bit complicated, but is there an API that would allow you to grab the content of an article and put it in the CRM?
That's my knowledge. I don't think you can.
You know where I'm going with this, right, Greg?
Yeah,
so
like custom
because Greg's done some really interesting things where you basically from the CRM, and maybe you can do it from Desk, from the CRM we've written a custom function that actually publishes content to WordPress. So you have to use something called advanced custom fields, so it's all formatted and looks pretty. But we have buttons where you basically just push a button in the CRM or you can automate it and it populates an article in the inside of WordPress. So I guess you could just copy and paste those articles, and then whichever ones you wanted to select, you could make it so that if you had a specific format inside the CRM, you put it in. You have to, like I say, there's a little bit of a process to it.
So to answer your question, Brett, we could the same integrations that we did from the CRM to WordPress, you could put that directly in Desk as well.
You could,
because it's just you'd be hitting the same API endpoints and things like that. You just be pulling from knowledge base articles rather than the
right. So could you put a button in a knowledge base article that says send this to WordPress?
That I don't know, because I don't know.
You could do.
I know Desk has macros, but I think those are just on tickets.
Yeah, it's done on ticket.
Yeah, but I mean, you could pretty easily set up like a custom field or or maybe you develop some sort of tag on your knowledge base, titles or something like that. That hey,
and if I put that tag, it pushes it up to WordPress.
That tag pushes it up to WordPress. Yeah, on like a schedule or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if they
definitely ways.
If they need just like all their knowledge base articles, or if they do permissions or whatever, they can always use that ASAP feature, because that basically pops a widget on their website, and then they can browse knowledge base, but it's not specific ones. It's pretty much all their knowledge base. So,
yeah.
So it could be done. Be a bit of effort there, but all right. And Josh asks, is there any way to do a static meeting room like Zoom in Zoho Meeting? This was over on Club Z. He just asked us that question. Nope. To the best of our knowledge, there is not a way to do that. Josh, this is one of those things that we talk about Zoho Meeting all the time, and all kind of the basic little things that are missing inside of it. It seems like every week on the CRM Zen show, they're releasing a new feature that is just kind of basic kind of stuff. And we'd spoken around here, and I looked at it, and there doesn't seem to be the way to have those little breakout rooms and those kind of things once you're inside of a Zoom meeting. So unfortunately, the answer is no. So our recommendation is look at Zoom, look at some of the other ones that have been around for a while. They're going to give you better audio, better video quality, and better recordings as well. So wish I had better news for you.
Alrighty, next question here comes from Waldo Norkia. I did Google that pronunciation. It pointed me to a South African cricketer, and Google told me that's how to pronounce it. So hopefully I didn't get that wrong. There's a question over from YouTube on the video that I actually just posted, how to integrate G Suite with Zoho CRM. Full walkthrough. We kind of go through Gmail, Calendar, Google Contacts, and then last but not least, Google Drive. So Waldo specifically here is asking, are the CRM native attachments or Google Drive attachments searchable using the global search in the top right corner? No, they are not. The names of the attachments do not come up in the search. I wish they did, but I kind of get why they don't, right? Because if you had like a quote attached to a record and you searched quote, right, it would show just like so many things that would come through. So yeah, unfortunately, Waldo, really like the way I always describe how I use the CRM is I just look for the account. If I need a file for an account, I go to the account, right? If I need to look at a deal for that company, I go to the account. If I need to see an email, I go to the account. So when in doubt, you can always go there. That's going to be a good place to start. But yeah, unfortunately, attachments are just not indexed in the CRM search.
When in doubt, go to the account.
I missed that. I heard it as I said it, Landon. I heard it as I said it, and I missed it.
When in doubt, go to the account.
You know what? I'll tell you something cool though. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but when you're in the CRM and if you read an email in the CRM, you now have the ability to take any attachments that are in the email and attach them to the attachments in the related list. I don't know when that
and to work drive. I think if you have the work drive
Yeah.
plugin, you can actually put them right into that folder too, which is
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I saw like 2-3 months ago, but I don't know. They're just kind of one of those slipstream things that kind of came in there, but very, very nice because it used to be download, upload, that whole process. So pretty cool now.
All right, our next question comes from longtime listener, longtime asker Beat Z over at Club Zenatta, saying, I realized I can't delete a Zoho project's admin from my project. So whoever is admin can't be restricted from accessing projects that might be restricted because of an NDA. Whenever a Zoho specialist needs to modify Zoho projects, they can't be restricted from accessing all projects. How are you handling this? So this is a pretty big question from Beat Z. So when he says a Zoho specialist needing to modify Zoho projects, I think he's referring to similar to what the work that we do, right? We need to go in, and oftentimes to make it as easy as possible, we usually need super admin access so that like any functions that we make or workflows, have all of the necessary permissions so that everything can get done, right? And of course, this poses a security problem if, in the case of Zoho projects, you have a bunch of data that you don't want people like Zenatta Consulting to see because those companies made you sign an NDA, and now it's like, okay, well, I guess your option would be either to get Zenatta to sign, an NDA as well, and that's probably going to be a headache. Or another thing that you could do is if you could create a separate license that is not an admin role that a consulting or contractor could use, as long as you made all of the various connections that any functions or workflows they would need to use. So that way, it's kind of like they build the structure and then you build the battery that it runs on, for lack of a better term. But yeah, this is a pretty much a big fundamental issue that we hope there can be some other solution that, at some point Zoho can have some kind of, partner login of some way specifically for this case of you need somebody who has all the permissions to be able to go in and work, but one for whom you can customize specific data access. But
Yeah, I mean,
we're crossing our fingers and hoping.
This can even be an issue in cases where there is no third party. So like imagine the Zoho specialist is an employee of BZ's company. This can still be a problem. Because in projects, it's basically you make them an admin and they automatically have full access to every single project, or you make them a user and you have to manually add them to every single project that they need to be a part of. Where a lot of companies like, and a use case I've seen, I don't know if this is BZ's in particular, is let's say they use projects for all this client work. And the Zoho specialist, the admin, should absolutely be able to see and do everything with those. But maybe BZ has his own personal project, right? And he's tracking work that he's doing on raises and negotiate, anything, right? Like things that can't be seen by everybody. And there's just not a good fix for it because you either have to take that person down from admin manager and then manually add them, or write a script, right, that auto adds them and blah, 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 right? All that good stuff. Or you have to just move your private stuff out of projects. So it'd be great, Zoho, if you're listening, maybe to have some type of flag on a project as like normal or private, and private isn't shared with everybody. I don't know exactly how that would need to work out. But yeah, it is tricky, right? Because there's just not a perfect fix outside of writing code to add them all to every project with a certain checkbox or tag or something on it.
Yep. Yeah. And I really would like to hear from this person on this, because Tyler, as we're correcting pronunciations and everything, I happen to know that Beat is a real person and his last name does start with a Z, but he also is European. So shouldn't he be Beat Z? Don't you think?
Beat Z.
I think it's Beat Zed. Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's the apostrophe. I'm not going to give away his last name, but I think it should be Beat Zed. I think from now. And Beat, if you would let us know if you prefer it to be Z or Zed, we need to correct this for future shows, and we apologize in advance for our American gaucheness.
Well, Landon, as we hand over the next question to you, you get to redeem us.
There we go.
Which way you going to go, Landon?
Kind of a continuation here from Beat Zed with the projects theme. It says, with projects, I can associate a team folder with all customer folders in it, but it does not allow subfolders to be associated with projects. So in Work Drive, I could not even have a team folder projects with subfolders for each project. The only solution support gave me was to have a team folder for each project. So Work Drive would have hundreds of folders on top level without structure. What do you suggest? Essentially what he's saying is, when you are creating projects, if you want a Work Drive folder associated, the only way you can do it built in, if you have the Work Drive extension in projects, is to have that folder that you associate with the project. It has to be a team folder. So that's the very top level organization. So if you have 300 projects, you're going to have 300 top level team folders, and there's no good way with that extension to have it, easily show there and be anything less than a team folder. So what he wants to do is have one team folder for projects and then each project within that. So unfortunately, Beat Zed, there isn't a really great solution. What I've seen done is having a function that whenever a project is created, so create a Work Drive folder, a team folder called projects, and then whenever a project is created, just run a workflow that has a function that creates a folder with that name and puts it in your projects, and then have the URL for that put into just like a custom field on the project. So it's not going to be under the Documents tab on your project, but you'll have the URL there that you can click and have that specific folder, and then it has at least the structure that you want. So again, not a fantastic solution, but
one other little tip that actually a client showed me about a month back, or maybe a prospect, I don't remember. There's a setting inside of Work Drive in like the personal view options, where you can actually have it group the team folders based on the relevant integrated app. So we'll actually take all those projects team folders out of like your big list. Cause like for Zenatta, we have like admin, marketing, sales, whatever. You start integrating projects, and it's now you've got like your main list is like Landon said, like 300 long, and most of them are just projects folders. So you can actually turn on a setting where it moves all those to the bottom, and then you can like expand and collapse the like projects team folder on the homepage. So that might help keep it clean as well, so that it's not kind of like flooding. Yeah, I had no idea it was there. And a prospector client was screen sharing, and I was like, how'd you do that? What's that over there? Like, how did you hide all those? Like, that looks really nice. And they showed me it's a little like sneaky setting in the like view options for a user.
That would be, we've done these videos like 7 things you have to do in CRM, kind of like 7 secret settings in projects,
Yeah. This is actually in Work. This lives over there, but yeah, that's a good idea. There's so many of those little things.
Work Drive's gotten cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there.
If you wanna open up my screen share real quick that I still have up, I just pulled up the settings here. So you've got like this default team folder listing. Choose how you prefer to list team folders. Show all team folders. Show only pinned team folders, or don't show any team folders. So that may be, one of the things we're talking.
Yeah, well, we don't have projects integrated, I think, so it might not show.
No, this won't show. But I'm just saying, like, these are, and so this was just in the, going to the Work Drive and going into My Preferences, and then down here, and then there's also default view. Maybe you have to have it also in the compact view. I'm not sure, but stuff to try out.
This is where it does live those in this little preference options BTC. Again, I think, Greg, this might be a theater account or a demo account, so we don't have projects integrated. It'll basically be an option in here for, do you want to group team folders based on integrated app source or something like that? And you'd want that turned on.
All righty. And then Daniel, I'm not going to try your last name. Nabavian? We'll go with that. After watching our YouTube video, an overview of WooCommerce integration with Zoho Inventory, ask, does the WooCommerce integration with Zoho Inventory do two-way syncing? If I update prices or inventory in Zoho, does it reflect in WooCommerce? It does not on the basic integrations that are out there. So I think there are several integrations for this, guys. And I think the one you were telling me earlier we recommend is CRM Perks.
Many integrations for WooCommerce, Zoho, CRM Perks. I mean, Landon, Greg, tell me if I'm wrong. That's the one I landed on in a long time that I've just always used. Because you can point it to inventory, you can point it to CRM, you can point it to both. You can sync the full order history. The full order history sync is a little buggy. You're going to have to turn it on and off like 20 times, and then it will finally click and run. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't push the pricing or stock values back.
But Daniel, this is a little bit like my previous question that Josh asked, or not that Josh asked, that was asked. What was the one we had? Oh, the one that we were talking about earlier with Zoho Desk. Can you take a knowledge base article and post it to WordPress? While you can't do that natively, and while there is no two-way integration with WooCommerce natively, there is an API, and so you can build two-way syncing, and we have done such, but it's completely custom to make that all work for you. So you would need to hire someone like us to go in and build a custom sync for you and do all that. How long does that usually take, guys? I know it
always depends how many items, how many other types of transactions do we need to take into account? How often do you need it, right? Like, is this something you need every 2 hours? Is this something once a day is okay? Handful of hours, couple hours. It really depends on the specifics.
I just anywhere from 5 to 50.
And you can get smart with it. You can get smart with it, right? So if you've got like that stock field on an item in Woo, you can pull it to analytics and then compare stock on hand versus stock on hand and only sync the ones that if there's a change. And that then requires calculating stock on hand and inventory, which is its whole own thing. But at the end of the day, it is solvable with a little bit of elbow grease. I know Josh has done it once or twice before. It is a nice thing.
Is it like the 5 to 15 hour range kind of thing, Greg?
Yeah, on the lower end of that, I would normally.
I'd probably put it 8 to 15, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So can be done, Daniel.
All right. Next one here. Question after watching Zoho Sign Creating Templates tutorial 2021. Resident Placer asks, I have a custom module in CRM and I actually need to send out W-9s to people in that module. I have all their info except for their social security number, and I would like to use a text box or fillable field to allow them to enter their SSN on the form, but I can't figure out how to integrate all the fields I have in CRM on the form and add the fill by them or the social security number field that they add back to the record in CRM. All I can seem to figure out is how to add their signature and initials to the CRM template in the ID. For this one, there's a few different ways to get information from CRM into Zoho Sign, whether it be using a mail merge template in CRM, using a template directly in Writer, which is essentially the same thing, using Zoho Flow, or, Deluge code. So the easiest one I would say, and correct me if you guys think there's an easier way, but usually creating like a mail merge template in the CRM. Just when you go to create an email template, make sure you click up on mail merge at the top, create that, make sure it's in your custom module. And then that way, when you send out an email, it'll just let you insert the template, because if you do the Zoho Sign extension in CRM, the send for Zoho Sign button does not show up in custom modules. It's only specific ones. Otherwise, I would say do that. So have that mail merge template. It'll create it. You send it out. They get that in Zoho Sign. They sign it. They put in their social security number. And then for me, the easiest way I could think of with that, you got to do a little bit of custom work. But if you do the Zoho Sign extension, then it's going to create a couple of modules. One is Zoho Sign Documents, and one is Zoho Sign Events. And then you could probably just write a workflow that says every time a Zoho Sign event record is created that says it was signed, then just grab that document and the ID for it, and then pull that field from that document into CRM. So you could do that with code. You could probably do it with Flow. It looked like you could do it with Zoho Flow. What is there anything else method-wise that you guys would do for that to keep it simple?
No. Sometimes with government forms, I skip doing a mail merge and I make it a sign template and have a button do that. It makes it a little easier because you have like the box on page fields, which can work slightly better in like a government form where you're really locked on the formatting. But in terms of capturing the data back, like listen for it in sign or in Flow, right? And then write it back to those records.
Yeah, I think something like Zoho Flow might be a little bit because then you wouldn't necessarily you may not have to use Deluge if you use Zoho Flow. Well, I guess you'd still have to use some Deluge to actually extract the SSN from the document, right?
Yeah, because that sign data is ugly when it comes back. I've worked with sign responses more than I would ever care to. And in situations where there's hundreds and hundreds being signed a day, and good golly, that data is just tucked about 15 layers deep. Like, they don't want you to get that field data. It's in there, but man, it is so non-obvious.
Yeah,
it's all in the list too, so you're gonna have to get the field ID and all that good stuff.
So I get so it kind of feels like at that point, if you already have to break that seal of writing custom Deluge, you might want to go the route of making, like Tyler was saying, a custom button that creates just so that you have a Zoho sign template, like he said, and then custom button trigger that off versus the mail merge option.
Moving on to our next question. Stubbs, after watching the YouTube video, Zoho Books to Stripe POS integration implementation, asked, are you willing to share the script on how the Zoho Books to Stripe POS integration was implemented? Stubbs, we do, and we will right now. Over on Club Z, we have this little thing called Code Share, and this one was kind of buried. Tyler actually found it, but the search bar works well here. So the easiest way for you to find it is to click search and type in Stripe, and guess what? There it is, Stripe Reader Payment API for Zoho Books. This was way back in February. Alex put the entire thing together, but here is the code, ready to go. So, I just want to say this because, man, you would have to do a lot of hunting around for this if you just went to Code Share and you thought it was there, because it was kind of buried. And we are writing
I think this might have even been from our previous iteration of Club Zenatta, so it may have been part of the big old migration of old posts. So it's, yeah.
For sure. So it's there. Club Z, Greg and the team are putting in so many pieces of code in there. And it's just at least one a week, usually two, it seems like. Then the community's contributing. And so it's getting to the point where really, if you're looking for something, you're better off just searching through there and seeing what you can find. But we'll post the link to that in the show notes here on this. But if you can go ahead and find that, and hopefully that gets it done for you.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's a massive deluge of code in there. It's ridiculous.
Have to inject the little dad jokes here and there, don't you, Landon? Can't help it.
Physically impossible not to.
Next question comes in response to one of my videos, getting started with Deluge writing data. Jonathan Schneider asked, is it possible to apply proper capitalization in Deluge if the first letter of a string is not already capitalized? And the answer is yes. There is a function just for that. It is called proper, very aptly so. So you have a string variable, dot proper, that will capitalize the first letter, and lowercase for all other letters in the string. Now, one thing to note is that it really does only do the first letter of the entire string. So let's say let's say I was running it on a first name. We have a developer here. His name is João Paulo. So he's got João Paulo de Mata. He's got 2 first names. The proper would not capitalize João and Paulo. It would just capitalize João. So if you are needing to properize multiple words in a string, you would need to, do some kind of iteration of like, you could turn that string into a list, separated by using the spaces as the delimiter, and then in each piece of that string, use the proper casing, and then click it all back together at the end.
Does Deluge have a title case? Because you've got proper case. Do they have title case? Because sometimes that capitalizes like the first letter of each word, right?
Right. That's yeah. So that's what I'm saying is you'd have to. There is no title case. You would have to take your string. Take your string dot to list. Inside of there, the little parameter would be just a space between 2 quotes. So now you have a list where the list is each word of that string, and then you could, for each part of that string, run the proper case, and then at the end, reconcatenate all of those together.
And it is tricky because with Deluge, there's no way to tell Deluge to do something if a letter is capitalized. I think, like, if I'm reading the question right, his concern is like, let's say he has a proper function set up and Landon fills out a form, right, and puts his last name, which is capital MC, capital C, Kluski, right, McCluskey. So now when the proper runs on that, it actually unpropers it. So the idea would be like, if the first letter is capitalized, assume that they typed their name the way that they like it.
Yes.
Otherwise run the proper and do as best as you can. And that I don't think you can do, right? Because Deluge it does comparators that are not case sensitive, right? Or could you force it to be case sensitive?
You can,
because there's letter, make all caps, and then
so it would be
matches.
Yeah, so rather than doing like the equal signs, there is a dot equals, like you write out the word equals, because there's dot equals and then there's dot equals ignore case. So the regular dot equals is case sensitive. So you could use that.
Like get first letter, make a capital, and then get first letter again, compare to the capitalized version to the raw version, and proceed accordingly.
Yeah. Now, one other thing that is springing to mind, and this is something based off of a Zoho developer hangout. Hello Raven, for the video people.
Dog tax being paid.
Yep. Is perhaps looking at using OpenAI to maybe try something. Because I saw a Zoho developer hangout where somebody was using it for like parsing like addresses, for example. Like they made just a simple OpenAI call, a chat GPT, saying, hey, here's a string. And then you pass in like the prompt of like, hey, here's somebody's name. Could you provide it with proper capitalization? And then maybe, I don't know, but it'd be a pretty good, probably would do a pretty good job of saying like, oh, yes, I see that this name most likely would have this pronunciation, and then
like
you could ask it to return
MCC, right? If you see an MCC, a language model could probably make a guess that second C is going to be capitalized. That's a good idea, honestly, to use it for that, like data cleanup.
But then, all right, our next question comes from Club Zenatta post from Lucas Samaras, asking, when testing my campaigns workflows, I typically use a plus sign in the email so that I can sign up a few different test users with the same email address. However, these leads or contacts are skipped in the Zoho campaign sync due to, quote, an invalid pattern. Is there a way to change this or a different method for testing live flows? Yes, Lucas, so these kinds of emails are skipped by default in Zoho campaigns. It's all part of the package of Zoho campaigns doing everything they can to try to preserve their email deliverability. So they keep themselves very, very closely guarded. So it's because they don't want, from Zoho's perspective, it's things with like those email aliases that increases the risk of getting a bunch of junk emails in there or emails that could get bounced back, and all of that hurts their deliverability.
Way to try to get around the bounce, right? If I send Brett as Zenatta and it bounces, now I can try Brett +1 as Zenatta, Brett +2, and all of that's going through the campaign's mail servers.
Yeah,
right?
And so ultimately, and because, and obviously you also don't want Zoho campaigns deliverability to be hurt, because then your campaigns won't go out. But you can message Zoho campaigns support and explain the situation to them that, hey, I want to use I have a test email account that I want to be able to test my campaign workflows. So I want to be able to pass in, different people into the workflow, but it's all going in reality into just one test inbox that I have. Most likely they are going to agree to turn on that feature for you so that now it can accept those emails. They just like to have it closed off by default, so that, just helps curb an inflow of bad data.
Alrighty, last question here comes from Terry Stevens over on Club Zenatta. Post title is Daisy Chaining of Workflows to a Blueprint. So question is, I have a number of workflows that update the lead status. However, these leads aren't entering a blueprint associated with that related status. If I manually change the status and the blueprint works perfectly, how do I get the workflows to daisy chain and make the lead enter a blueprint? So good question, Terry. Daisy chaining workflows is something that we all, tenuously love to do here at Zenatta. Brings a certain joy when everything just clicks together. For things like this, when you're running a field update and you want it to trigger like a workflow, a blueprint, an approval process, you are going to need to carve it out and write it as a line of deluge code. Essentially what it is, that default, and follow up on the question if you're already doing it with Deluge over in Club Zen, and we'll help out. But I'm guessing you're doing it with a field update action in a workflow, which is just like the front end, like the UI option to do it. Those do not trigger workflows and blueprints. If you do it as a deluge action, which can be very simple, this can be like 2 lines of code. Define the status, run the update, like good to go. Then with a update record action in Deluge, you can pass some data to tell Zoho that you want a workflow or a blueprint to be triggered based on that update. It's off by default for those field updates, but yeah, Deluge always going to give you more control, and then you can essentially force it to enter the blueprint as a result of that update.
Fantastic. By the way, not sure if you're aware or not, but Daisy Chain Workflows is the name of a new rock band being formed over here at Zenatta. Yeah. It's we left you out, Tyler. It's just Landon, Greg, and myself doing the Daisy Chain Workflow thing.
Yeah. Weird that we didn't include Freddie the musician in our band, but
yeah, I wasn't gonna say.
Well, we don't want to be too good. We have daytime jobs.
Yeah.
It could affect
That's right.
Otherwise,
don't want it to go to our heads.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on AZAAZ. And as always, if you'd like to get in touch with us here at Zenatta, you can do so by heading to zenatta.com and clicking on Book a Meeting.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of our podcast, The CRM Zen Show, where we cover all the news in the world of Zoho every single week. If you'd like that news delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter.
And at club.zenatta.com, you can join our online community where we share code snippets and where questions that you post there are most likely to end up on this very show.
And if you want your team to be trained in how to properly use some CRM projects and some other Zoho apps, go to zenatta.com/training. And also, if you like just watching videos with people named Drew in them.
And of course, as always, we would appreciate if you would like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Wednesday.